Smoak. All right, here we go, this 4 o'clock hour. Tim Brando yesterday on Twitter. So after all of this, the NFL having an incredible Week 18 for the first time. Playoff pairings ready to go. Oh, by the way, there's a college football title game, an afterthought. If ever a sport sorely needed PR 101, it's the college football playoff. No one caretaking for the game. Nobody. Tim joins us live on Sikkim 365 Radio. Tim, will they ever hire you as the czar of college football?
Well, I love what I do too much, to do it. Plus, I don't think I'm really qualified. Although I do think I care more about the game than these guys. I do. I don't see anyone doing anything other than taking care of their own constituency. And it's happening again. The reports out of Indianapolis today from Nicole Auerbach and others with The Athletic and a few other media types that follow such things are saying the same thing. And it's horrible. It's just, how much more do these people need to see, to know how stuck in quicksand they are. And they're just feeding and fanning the National Football League and giving them stuff for free. They've given them December. They've given away New Year's Day, so much so the NHL can have a game outdoors and gets an audience. It's these guys are stuck in neutral, and it's well past time to kick the can down the street and say, well, we have realignment to finish, and we have television contracts that need to run their course. Every contract can be torn up and rewritten. We see that with football coaches weekly. Yeah. But we can't do it. We can't do it with college football. It's these are games being played by grown men who are paid by college presidents, and all they want to do is serve those college presidents within their leagues, and they don't give a rat's ass about the totality of the sport. And it's funny. I think this all started really when the distrust among the commissioners. It really all started when Texas and Oklahoma left for the SEC, and Bob Bowlesby and Greg Sankey went at it. But they're on the same side here. They both want 12. And it's the other commissioners, the new ones, that are adamant, and it's their leagues that need it's the leagues that they represent that need the expansion more than either the SEC or the Big 12. The ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten. The Big Ten's issue is they want automatic qualifiers, and I'm fine with that. I've got no problem with automatic qualifiers, but to make that a sticking point to say that we can't do this because you're not going to guarantee automatic qualifiers, there are ways contractually with wording to get past this. And, these are all reasonably intelligent men that as individuals I respect, but as a group, they are as failed as the United States Congress. They are.
Tim, I sit here and watch this, and I wonder what far-fetched eventualities are they worried about? What do you, in your head, have somebody go, well, statistically, there's a 2% chance that, if 3 group of 5 teams were better than us, then we might not make the playoff. Well, if that year happens, then maybe you need to fire some coaches in that league because it's bad.
Yeah, it's all about power and control. That's really what it is. It's easy, I think, for fans, especially fans outside the southeastern corridor, to look at Greg Sankey as the bad guy, the villain, and yeah, the manner in which that he handled the Texas Oklahoma thing is certainly debatable. But he did what was in the best interests of his constituency. And I think he also really, to be perfectly honest with you guys, I think he really helped move college football along in doing so. Everybody predicted the Big 12 was going to die on a vine. It did not. Bob Bowlesby just stepped up and saved his league, and he added teams that I think are going to be of great value, not to the value of Oklahoma and Texas, certainly, but still of great value, and the league is going to flourish. I thought it had an excellent year this season, and if Oklahoma State had won the Big 12 title game, they would have had a representative in the college football playoff. There was absolutely no doubt in my mind about that. But the reality is it's now time for people to stop pointing fingers and blaming this or that guy, no matter what league he represents. But it's time to do what's right for the sport. I mean, December is a lost month, and that's when you have the most viewers at home during the holidays to capture a nation. And after the conference championship weekend, the very first weekend of December, college football's gone. It's history. They play the semifinals, what was it, 9-10 days ago? Mm-hmm. Which was, that's 20-some days. Now we're looking at 27 days, almost a month. Sometimes it's longer than that. It can be 32, 33 days before we have a title game after the conference championships. And what do? We allow the NFL, we being college football, to take over the minds and the media in this country to such a point that the title game is a blip on the radar screen. You guys, I'm sure at some point today, turned on even the carrier that has the game, okay? You guys probably watched at some point this morning ESPN. What were they talking about?
Coach firings.
They weren't talking about college football, okay? They were talking about the playoffs, the overtime games, what happened at the end of that Chargers-Raiders game. Were they going to settle for a tie and leave Pittsburgh out? I mean, it's the NFL that's on the tips of everyone's tongues now at a time when the national friggin' championship is about to be played, okay? I give my friends who cover college football on ESPN a lot of credit. They've been on the air since about noon today. But you can fill the airwaves for the next hours. The damage has already been done. The nation has checked out on college football. I mean, Georgia and Alabama and the 279 miles between Athens and Tuscaloosa, yeah, they're locked in, and they'll get a decent rating. But it won't be a big rating. It'll be 15 to 20% worse than it was a year ago. And the semifinals were played on New Year's Eve for the second time in 4 or 5 years. How could you let that happen again? How could you play the four best teams play in this playoff on New Year's Eve for a second time? I mean, there's not a television analyst in the world that would recommend that to any entity that was saying, oh, we're going to change the paradigm of American sports viewing on New Year's Eve. I mean, Bill Hancock is out of his mind to make such a statement.
No, I couldn't agree more. And you're right. It does kind of feel like, oh yeah, and there's a national title game tonight. Like that's how we wrap up the season. Tim, one of the things that was obviously a hot topic also coming into this year was name, image, likeness, and how that would change things. I saw where both Smart and Saban commented on that during their press conferences and talked about the need for mass regulation, like overall regulation. What have been your thoughts? I know coming from them, it's funny, but what are your thoughts on NIL in year one and the impact that it's had or not had, especially based on expectations going in?
Well, it's not as bad as the coaches make you believe, all right? The coach speak controlling the media has also got to stop, okay? All right? And I'll take it a step further. This garbage about players not caring anymore about the game, which is also coach speak. I hear those same things, but to allow those guys to be the mouthpieces only for our sport is wrong. And I have great respect for both Saban and Smart, but they don't speak for everybody involved in college football. They certainly don't speak for all the players. Who the hell do they expect is going to regulate this? Congress? I mean, the NCAA certainly passed the buck. They, kicked the can down the street in Indianapolis today. The can was already kicked from Mark Emmert to college football because he knows he doesn't have the power that the commissioners of the conferences do. I mean, NIL is not the big bad boy of the future of college athletics. It's actually done quite a bit of good this year. I thought the moment, one of the great moments of the college football season was when the tight end from Kansas won the game at Texas and then got a deal with what was it, Chili's, Ruby Tuesdays, whoever it was.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
My God, how great was that?
Yep.
I mean, players getting a little piece of the pie is not a problem. Now, this is an issue the states have got to take care of. If I'm the coaches, I'm going to my state, and I'm saying, hey, we need to do this, okay? Our state U is not going to get what they're getting in Alabama, what they're getting in Texas, what they're getting in, and oh, by the way, if your politicians are getting in the way of this, and you know what states we're talking about, then that's on you. You know, that's your problem. All right. But coaches, to think that there's going to be mass regulation done and unification, hell, they know that can't happen. It hasn't happened with their own damn sport. So everybody's speaking out of their own sides of their mouths. They only care about themselves. They don't give a damn about the game. And if we in the media just go, yeah, whatever he said, okay, the coach is right, okay, you know, that was, it's just pathetic, absolutely pathetic.
Tim, I know you got another segment to do, but I just had this in the chat room. A frustrated Tim Brando is a great interview. Loving this segment.
Well, I hate to be the angry old man from Louisiana all the time, but you know, Smokey, I got to tell you, it's we've seen this thing play out for how long now? Okay, for how long? And we're gonna get where we want to go. When I talk to my friends that are my age and older that have said, well, you know, NIL has done this, I'm like, man, if you think that you're going to bring these boats back into dock, you can forget that. Okay, we're not winding the clock back. We've got to be progressively moving ahead. And when you say that, people automatically want to call me the Bernie Sanders of college football. That's a crock. That is an absolute crock. Anybody that knows anything about my political leanings, they're not in the same stratosphere as Bernie Sanders. But the bottom line is college football has been stuck in the mud, looks as though it's run by Neanderthals that are worse than those that govern Major League Baseball for years. Mm-hmm. And the NFL is sweeping in, taking all the money, and using you as a free minor league. I mean, my God, how stupid can you look?
Tim, enjoy the next segment. What?
Yeah, thoughts on tonight's game,
yeah,
Tim?
Right.
We're glossing over the national championship game too. But yeah, your thoughts on Bama Georgia round 2?
Yeah, Georgia does not win this game. That's another thing that blows my mind. We're now being given the narrative that, you know, these modern day internet athletes just didn't give a damn because they knew they were in. Alabama did because their backs were against the wall, and somehow in the last month, Georgia's figured out all the issues they had with Alabama, and they'll play harder, and because they have more 5 stars, they automatically win. Huh? What? and making Saban and Alabama an underdog for the second time in a month is like feeding chum chum to a great white. Okay? Alabama wins this game. It'll be over early fourth quarter. Ratings will tank and hopefully be the worst ever, because in the good name of college football, that's what we need. We need awful everything. Everything must be, you know, I hate to say this, but it is true. We need anything that can go wrong in terms of viewership, national viewership, to go wrong. And I think I'll get my wish. Alabama wins this game. It'll be a colossal bore in the fourth, and the ratings will go with the tank.
Tim, as always, thanks for your time, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tim
Thank
Brando,
you, fellas. All the best.
Fox Sports. I mentioned what he said in the tweet. Chuck Cooper's team, who's a college football historian, does games, and also, of course, voice of the Mavericks. You could not be more correct talking about Brando. Keep banging the drum. Keep being the squeaky wheel. They'd be better off playing the game Thursday night instead of Monday night. And I thought about that when Coop mentioned that. Basically get a 2 full week. He's right. If they would have played this game on Thursday, they would have been ahead of the NFL final weekend with all the drama.
Yeah. Well, and he's completely right about December. Look, we're in New Orleans on New Year's Eve, and you think about, okay, how am I going to watch these games? And they're thinking, I know what they're saying. Well, it's a holiday. Well, no, it's also a holiday. Well, people leave their house. Christmas is not a holiday where you leave your house.
No.
That's a holiday where you stay there. But New Year's Eve is you've been in the house for a week and you want to get out and you want to go get amongst them.
Yeah, the afternoon game, the afternoon kick is I don't.
We could see it just with this show during the holiday break.
Yeah.
I mean, like numbers go down because everybody's out doing something. Like you know where I watched most of the Georgia-Bama game? In a casino in New Orleans. Like that's not me at home watching and providing ratings for them. I'm just out in New Orleans and like, oh yeah, though there's a game on, and oh yeah, it's not worth watching because it's a blowout, and so all right, back to the slot machine. Like that's what I did.
Yeah, there was no group of like 25 people hanging around where that TV flat screen was. Everyone was, oh yeah, by the way.
Try to tell your significant other, like, no, we're not going out on New Year's Eve because Georgia and Michigan are playing, unless she's a sports fan too, or they're a sports fan too. They're gonna be like, no, it's New Year's Eve. We're going to a party. We're going out. That's how it is. And again, they did that because of a parade, which I don't want to get into again. And they have, like Tim said, they've got the whole month of December where we have weeks where the best game is on is the Popeyes Bahama Bowl, and it's why?
Yeah.
Well, you've got other things you can do. And you can still have this whole mutual exclusivity of, well, if you do a 12-team playoff, then the Popeyes Bahama Bowl goes away. Well, one, nobody's watching it anyway. But two, if you wanted to have it, it's an exhibition game. You can still have it.
Why did the NFL start playing Saturday games in mid to late December? Why? Because college football was over.
Yeah.
Why not still try to keep one of those weekends? Why just give it up, like just roll over me, right?
He's right, though. I mean, like tonight's game's kind of in some ways an afterthought. Like, I mean, look, you almost end the interview without even asking him about it because all the other stuff's more of what people are talking about. They're talking about the playoff. They're talking about recruiting. They're talking about NIL. They're not talking about the game tonight for the most part. And, yeah, it's just kind of there because it's taken so long to get here. Like, we were all in college football mode 2 weeks ago, but now it's like – I mean, it's just one game we're waiting on. We're just waiting on this one game, and I know there's the FCS playoffs and all that too, but for the average fan, they're not paying attention to that. They're looking at, the D1, and it's kind of weird how that's happened, but I'm glad that there is somebody like Tim, like you said, banging that drum and hopefully getting some people to realize, like, man, look at all the real estate you're giving up, and when he lays it out the way that he did, you do realize, you're like, wow, they really have given up a lot of free real estate for really no real reason, quite frankly, just almost bad decision making.
Yeah, and it's been like this has been going on for years, and to the point
it's not like the NFL was strong arming them or anything.
No, the NFL kind of gave them their time.
Yeah,
and then finally the NFL smart enough to realize, well, damn, we might as well just take over a couple of weekends. They've been playing Saturday NFL games for a long, long time, but now it's 2 and 3 games, not just like a game on Saturday night. Now it's 2 or 3 games, and of course the playoffs just passed the final weekend as well.
And just college football is not a Monday thing. I mean, it's you know what I mean. Like I'm more of in line with whoever suggested like a Thursday night. Like a Thursday night seems to me like way more of a college football national championship. You get a few days before. During the week to build up to it, but like just coming out of the NFL weekend that was especially, and then just turning right around and like, oh, there's no Monday Night Football, but there's a national champ. I don't know. Like I'm excited to watch the game tonight, but I also have the fear of what Tim just said of Alabama just runs roughshod eventually, and the ratings tank and all of that. So, maybe it is. Almost in a way, to root for college football, you have to root against college football, and you have to almost hope that tonight's ratings suck because then maybe that wakes up the right people. But I don't know. Based on all the stuff we're hearing behind the scenes, I'm not sure how we're expecting them to figure out, what a bad decision having the national championship game like a month after the season's over with, how much of a bad decision that is or whatever else they're doing when they can't even get like the simple stuff right now. They can't even agree on a playoff format. How are they going to figure out, oh yeah, maybe we're placing these games on the wrong dates, or maybe we're taking too long between the end of the regular season and the end of the postseason.
There'll be millions of people who watch tonight, but it could be many more millions. And yes, Georgia, Alabama fans, or Ohio State, Clemson fans, whoever was playing, they're all in, and they should be. But what makes the Super Bowl so special, not trying to get those numbers, but you know what makes them so special, and even the NFL, even during the season, is the non-true blood fan. And that's what the NFL has found, and that's what college football needs to find.
And I brought that up with Paul last week. I used a wrestling reference, and I'm somebody who's not real in on that right now. I just go in waves, but I've kind of become disenchanted over the last couple months, and I'm not paying attention to it nearly as much. Probably like a lot of college football fans haven't been paying attention for the last 5 weeks, unless there's a coaching change that they're monitoring and recruiting and stuff. But outside of that, there's a lot of teams out there, those fan bases don't have any reason to care about any of this right now or anything that's happened in the last 5 or 6 weeks with bowl season. So, I use the wrestling example of, years and years and years ago, and cable cutting does play into it somewhat, but you had 10 million people watching on Monday nights, and now you're lucky that it's 2 every week. Now, 8 million people might have been victims of cable cutting. I highly doubt that total number was. I think what it is mostly is they've lost the casual fans.
I think
There's
so.
no casual fans that are watching. There's 2 million people watching wrestling on a weekly basis, and they're just programmed to at this point. And it's not because it's great and they stick with it. They can get through BS and keep watching because that's what they're going to do. So basically what they've done is they've taken this all-time great group of viewers that they had, and they've eliminated the casuals to the point they're down to their last 2 million. Like, that's basically, they're down to 2 million diehards and nothing more.
It's
and
almost
all
like
there
having
is.
a bunch of money and you all of a sudden start spending it, and the next thing you know, you look up and most of it's gone. And you go, damn, I wish I still had 8 or 9,000 or 8 or 900,000